powered by Reviting, streaming from the Reviting Digital Studio. It's the David Daily. Exploring frontier technology, artificial intelligence, quantum innovation, and the intersection of faith, funding, and the future. Here's your host, David Goki.
Welcome to another episode of the Daily David Show, where we talk about funding, faith, and future tech on the David Daily Show. Today is another amazing episode, and we have a special guest today, Deondré Wyche. He is a phenomenal individual, very, very focused on quantum technology and security. He has a huge background in all the things, and we're pretty excited to have him today. I'm going to welcome him onto the stage here as we're going live with Deondré. Welcome to the show, Deondré. So excited to have you here today. Please introduce yourself for the audience so I know who you are.
Yes, hello. Name is Deondré Wyche. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I love it. I'm in a few words. He is. Tell us a little bit about your background. I know you have obviously a technology background and interest in faith as well as quantum. Tell us a little bit maybe more about your career experience and kind of how you got to where you are today.
So most of my background stems from military. So I was in the military. I've done about 8.5 years in the Army, and that goes into IT infrastructure. So when you think of IT infrastructure, you think of things like data centers, you think of things like fiber optics. I've been in that space for over um, a decade. And so now I'm at the point where I'm branching out more. So I'm expanding into spaces such as AI and quantum. The quantum realm is a very fast growing space. So is AI. And with that comes so many other sectors that's pulled into it, with telecommunications, and quantum computer, infrastructure, and also energy as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that we've had some awesome conversations a little bit about that, especially talking about energy management as well as the military's role in that. And of course, your security background as well. And yesterday we had an awesome opportunity to chat a little bit about some of these things as well, which is fantastic. So let's just jump right in. The first topic is actually B2B versus B2G. Now, many people may have heard of business to business, but not many people, I don't think, in my audience at least, would have heard of B2G. At least I have not been in that government space. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about what exactly is business to government. Well, what is B2G, Deondré? Help us, for the beginners who are seeing this for the first time, define B2G and your role in it.
Okay, absolutely. So just like any business, our government more or less is also a business, and with that, it has needs. If you as an individual can provide a service or certain things that the government may be looking for, you too could participate in that as well. Now, there's different levels of this. You have federal government, you have your local state government. Um, when it comes to the advancements of both technology and humanitarian needs, the government is always looking for people to be a part of that. So I know they're really welcoming in that aspect, and I have had the opportunity to participate in a few endeavors myself. Yes.
Yeah, I love hearing that, especially as a person of color and also in the government. I'm half Korean as well. Obviously, very different than your lived experiences. But when we talk about getting involved in the government, it's so interesting because government is really top of mind right now. In fact, you're seeing a lot of different things come out where the government entities themselves actually have full-on business organizations, right? We see the president of the United States, for example, having their own media company, and that media company and real estate company actually being involved in that real acquisition of organizations, of investments, the movement of technology. And so to have an expert like you with us here today, especially someone who's had some experience with business to government work, I'm curious, for people who are interested in getting involved with B2G or other sectors, what would you say would be one area of focus, A, for them to just get started?
Um, you want to make sure that you are legitimized, right? So you want to make sure that your background, your documentations, whatever it is to show that you are a certified expert in that field, you want to make sure you know what you're talking about. Or you could be a person who is more or less like a talent acquisitions individual. You bring the talent to the government for whatever it is, the job or role that they're looking for. Um, I think both parts work really well. Um, some parts that are difficult to fall into is when you have to deal with some more cleared sides. So clearance space, secret, top secret. I fall into that category of the private sector when it comes to dealing with business to the federal government. And so making sure that you keep a clean track as far as your history and having your documentation correct is how you would get into that part of BTG. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so important. Being involved in your paperwork, but also making sure that you have an established business. First of all, that's kind of the first step,
Yeah.
is get a
Yeah.
business, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're in the United States, that means going to your Secretary of State website, getting that business registered and getting it registered well. Now you can do that in the state that you reside in,
Yep.
right? Or you can do also a Delaware based LLC. You can incorporate in Delaware. Or if you're looking for more private or affordable options, you can also incorporate or become a business in Wyoming. And so we've done both. We do care about having that opportunity to go public with a Delaware corporation. So we do eventually want to have a role in stock and an IPO. We also have a Washington State-based business where I resided for 12, 13 years. So that is still active. And then of course, Wyoming, to have a privacy aspect, you can really get very private with your holdings company, with your real estate, with whatever it is that you want to put in Wyoming. Of course, it's very affordable. So I really like that first piece of saying, hey, I'm interested in getting started in B2G, business to government. How exactly do I do that? Well, one way I do that is by getting your certifications and all of your papers together. I really appreciate that
Yes.
perspective. So yeah, just maybe a little bit more in terms of once you've been established and now you're in a government entity. I see you had experience with, of course, the Navy and many other organizations, specifically from an IT security point of view. What enabled you to get involved with the security side of the house inside of government?
Well, I kind of always been a part of it. Like I said, I originally got my start in the military, and being a part of the telecommunications side
Hmm.
was a major impact in my growth towards after being in the military. So, after a while, all of it really just blends well together. Now, there's a difference between network security and infrastructure security and
Right.
mainframe facilitation. Is a big difference. On one side, you're a person who could be protecting assets against things like penetration testing, hacking, stuff like that. On the other side, you're a person who actually works on schematics and blueprints for the data that's going to be passed through certain locations of hostile areas or mission critical assets that may be, need to make sure that, all these things are brought over in a payload, on time, time specific. And if it's not, then there could be potential consequences that are unspoken of that could happen. So being a part of that environment for a long time has really shaped my work ethic as an individual.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea of having a strong work ethic because when you're talking about security in the data center, both physical and digital, right? We
Yeah,
talked about this a lot before. First of all, how do you give or remove access into the physical building, right? It's just like your office, it's like your house, it's like if you go to the gas station or the grocery store. How do you secure yourself physically? You walk in, you look at the exits, you look at the people, typically anything that is moving, right, would be potentially a threat. Now, similarly, in the digital side, right, if you have data that's moving, if you have special assets that, as you have mentioned, anything that's moving in the digital realm also would be viable or would be something that you would want to consider in terms of the security of it. And so in quantum, we do really care about the way that security works. Now, how is security different in the quantum world, right? When we talk about cybersecurity, quantum versus maybe being in the natural world of old school hardware, old school technology. And maybe if we even look at the data center side, we still have a lot of old technology sitting inside these massive data centers that were built 5 years
yeah.
ago. So how do you continue to drive security through quantum and through hybrid and classic workloads?
Well, it takes new forms of entities like AI, because now you're moving data faster than, in theory, the speed of light. And so, if something is able to be implemented faster than you can think, you're going to need something just as fast to keep up with it. Which comes to the next thing. Um, ensuring that we as humanity we're prepared for that exchange and that difference and the classical versus the quantum. It's very important that we are preparing ourselves to be safe on all aspects. Um, so yeah, that's what I would say about that. It takes a new level of security management on both the physical and the digital side, that is still being built.
Absolutely love that. All right. Well, we're going to get into some more topics here shortly, but we're going to take a brief intermission here. Welcome to the David Daily Show with Deondré Wyche. If this is your first time watching the live show, welcome. We are a live show, a talk show, and a podcast streaming as often as we can across all major platforms. We love TikTok and we love LinkedIn as our primary sources. Today, we're actually here with Deondré talking about all things topics, all the topics about funding, faith, and the future of technology on the show. We just got done talking about technology. And now we're going to roll into our second area of topic, which is God's role in all of this, which between me and you, it's such an interesting perspective, bringing faith into something that's so scientific and so mathematical. But Deondré, we'd love to hear your perspective on what role faith plays in technology.
So I know for me, I'm in a place where there aren't people necessarily from my family background that have gone this route that I know of. And so being blind going into something, you need faith to make sure that you're staring straight. And so that's where God plays in, my ultimate guiding source when it comes to being a part of this very fast evolving technological space. And without God in it, I'm sure some people are still finding their way, but then what will happen is um it's not as clear. It's not as always as a clear picture. There's a vision there, but it could be fuzzy. There could be more obstacles in the way that's blocking you. And so with me being blindfolded, on my face, a blindfold and walking forward, I choose to leave it to my faith to ensure that I'm making the right decisions and I'm being in the right places at the right time. And so far, it's gone pretty well.
I appreciate that. And having God being the guiding source or the guiding light, if you will, for technology moving faster than the speed of light, that's kind of a little bit of, I don't know, a little meta, right? When you think about what role does God play and what role does faith play in technology. Our
Yeah.
guest here, Deondré Wyche, says that God is the ultimate source. And we actually love that it's the ultimate guiding source because that's, when you're going into an unknown situation, I don't know about you, DeAndre, but when I'm going into an unknown situation and I'm not actually quite sure of what's going to happen next, especially in frontier technology, I often want to ask myself, okay, well, what is God's role in this? And how can I lean on the divine aspect of my faith so that I can be a better technologist? So, how do you become a
Absolutely.
better technologist with faith?
Again, like I said, you leave it to God for the things you don't know and you pray for more understanding. And so with that, in time, things would be revealed or you're still moving forward in the space where you're supposed to be. If you're having trouble or you're lost, just pray and it'll be figured out in time. With that being said, this new advancement of technology, from what I'm seeing on my side, there's not exactly any wrong answers because there's no training wheels yet. Now, that's also a dangerous thing, right? We need guidelines, regulations, and proper structure to ensure that there isn't people going too far left or people going too far right, left or right. So we need to ensure that there are guidelines for what we're doing and asking
Right.
God for the proper guidance. It's not a bad thing, but that's if you believe. If you don't believe, that's a different story, but me as a believer, that's what I go by.
I love that perspective, especially because faith and religion, spiritual beliefs, whether you believe in one God, multiple gods, or no God, it is such a personal part of your faith and part of your personal experience. And I'll just share this too. If you've been thinking about the role of faith in technology, or you've been thinking about the role of spirituality and divinity in the role of technology, or in your funding moves as an angel investor, or as a venture capitalist, partner, or LP, GP, or maybe you represent a family office and you want to get connected with more people on LinkedIn, I'd invite you to become a guest on the David Daily Show. You can do that very simply by going to guest.thedaviddaily. We'll scroll that across the bottom here just so you have a version of being able to go see that. And you too could be like DeAndre, getting on the show and sharing your faith perspective, your funding experience, and even the future of technology. So we're going to be right back after this quick intermission. All right, we are back on the David Daily Show with Deondré Wyche, a security analyst and quantum specialist. He is a man of faith as well, and he also has a lot of perspectives on quantum. And in fact, Deondré, we were talking previously about the final stage of quantum requiring world peace. What exactly does that mean to you?
Um, so it sounds like a loaded statement, but I mean, when you really think about it, um, to facilitate consistent bases and consistent efficiency in quantum, you're going to need a lot of power. You're going to need a lot of cooling. And one of the things that we're going through right now as a collective, as humanity, is there's a slight power crisis. There are other companies. No way am I a spokesperson for any of these companies, but I've been doing research on them. There are other companies that are building their different forms of energy transference. Like there's a company in Australia that does small form nuclear facilities, for data centers. There are companies that are working on the transportation of plasma-based energy, like Starcatcher. So that's one part of it, the energy base. The next part of it is the actual infrastructure and transportation that you would need to get to these different places. You have things like the Arctic, which could potentially assist with cooling. You have other locations where data centers could be built, like the ocean. You know, China has been doing this type of thing. They've been very successful with it. And then you have space, the final frontier. I believe that putting data centers into space will not only be more efficient from a infrastructure standpoint, but also from a research standpoint, it makes the most sense. You have raw energy from the sun, you'll be able to harvest. And once that's achieved, of course, in theory, hopefully world peace will come along. Because in order to transport those scientists and engineers and people who are members of creating that space, for that infrastructure to exist, there shouldn't be any fighting or wars, anything like that, any interplanetary issues or orbital issues with habitat facilities and whatnot being attacked. It's not a good idea, So, in theory, if we have our smartest people in these locations doing what's necessary for the advancement of humanity, it logically doesn't make sense to continue violence in any way. So that's why I think it just makes sense. Quantum could lead to world peace in theory. In theory.
Right. In theory, I love
Yeah.
that aspect of the theory of world peace, especially when we're talking about quantum and future tech, because to your point, if we're needing to conserve energy and we have limited resources such as space, such as land mass, such as our oceans, and we want to be sustainable, right? It's important for us to consider all the things that are needed for quantum technology. And as a quantum newbie, as someone beginning in quantum, having you on the show to be able to talk about funding and quantum is very interesting. So yesterday we had a chance to chat about where will funding go in the quantum world and where are there quantum inspired moments, or might we say quantum type of intelligence. Tell us a little bit more about what your perspective is on the future of funding in quantum. If you were to look out maybe this time next year or even the year after tomorrow, how would you see investors in Silicon Valley, but also technologists like yourself and myself investing into quantum in the future?
Okay. Yeah. So again, the basis, the energy, the infrastructure, and the people. Now, if you invest into the people, they'll be able to give you the raw concepts and constructs to ensure that we're going to continue to move forward. The energy, that's a no-brainer. Of course, we need energy to be able to power, everything that we're doing. And the infrastructure, if we cannot facilitate a location to house and mitigate and ensure that these things are able to be possible, then it won't be done. So those are the basis. Now, something else, rehabilitation. All of the people who are going to be impacted by the advancement of technology, by the advancement of AI, all the people who are going to be losing their jobs and potentially their entire career. From
Mhm.
my perspective, I haven't seen much rehabilitation being done, or any type of mitigation to um, give people a different outlook on what they could be doing to still be a part of this advancement and still be a part of the next level of civilization. Um, I believe that when it comes to something like that, not only will it be a big deal or what other investors should look towards investing into, but if you can take care of the people, you will house, facilitate, and ensure the next stages of humanity is heading in a good direction, you know, a direction that's going to be useful.
Yeah. No, that's so good. I love your perspective. You're such a great host and guest here on the David Daily. And yesterday, actually, we were talking about a pretty interesting concept, DeAndre. We're talking about life in space. So if you're someone who is considering going to space, or maybe you've been to space before, would love to hear people who are in the space world. So if you've considered anything in rocket technology, in livable, sustainable experiences in space, our next topic after this quick intermission is going to look at life in space. So at this moment, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this quick segment. Life in space. We're here with Deondré. Deondré, so glad to have you here. Life in space. What does quantum life look like in space, where we have these inhabitable spaces, where we have safety and world peace? We're kind of on this topic of what happens if we're going to have a world of quantum and life in space. What are some of those requirements in your perspective to have a peaceful life in space?
Again, it goes back to infrastructure, and also the travel. Um, Two companies that I know that are really working on it really well is Blue Origin and SpaceX. That whole planetary to space travel, they've been working on it really big. They're doing some really great things. Me myself, I have never gone to space or on an orbit. I've only been on a plane. So I may have jumped out of a few planes for certain things, but as far as space, I have not gone. Now, if we are having data centers that's being built in orbit and also spacebound, we need to make sure that the people who are going to be working at those facilities are able to have um, the best living situation possible. Not necessarily living in a mansion in space, but where their health is able to take the burdens of reacclimating back to atmospheric pressure. Now, I'm not a scientist when it comes to those things, but something I would say is you should consider biomedical research that does going to reacclimating the human body to those conditions of different pressures, whether it's on their muscle atrophy, their bone density, what does it do to your blood system, your psychological state. I would say that also is going to be a very big emerging market that's going to come forward as well.
Yeah, I love to hear the emerging markets that will come from life in space, especially as it relates to biotechnology and the hub of people living in space, and also with quantum and having world peace. This idea that the final stage of quantum is where we actually can live above all of the destruction that quantum has created, which is kind of interesting. And especially when you look at quantum nuclear, right? We talked briefly about that, where you now have these small factor nuclear components that can be modularized and added to a data center. And that was a
Yeah.
huge aspect of it too, right? If we don't have peace on Earth, how can we have peace in space? So I'd love to hear your perspective in terms of, in terms of just bringing this show to like a conclusion. Like, how do you have peace in that post-nuclear world where quantum is everywhere? We have everything we need. We have abundance. And now it's really about focusing on world peace and sustainability.
I think as a collective, as humans, we have to get on one accord about what is important. So if we're choosing to fight over things that are temporary of importance, we're running out of resources here on the planet at a certain, standpoint. And so the next thing for us to do is take to the stars for additional resources. Wealth is fine, but wealth is a short stop when it comes to just you existing as the only wealthy person. So being able to facilitate the advancement of society and ensuring that we as a people, we as humans, we're able to have longevity, not just where we are as individuals, but um, within the actual aspects of our every existence. I think that's a really big goal that everyone should get behind, and I think it's beneficial. Well, I think it's beneficial. Absolutely.
Well, I'm with you as well in terms of getting on the same page and having alignment there. It will definitely require governance, right? In a
Absolutely.
world of understanding best practices and how to be safe and sustainable, really for the future of our planet. And I love to hear that aspect. So we're going to take a quick break and then jump into our favorite anchor segment, which is Beyond the Bag. Hopefully you thought of something. We'll be right back with our segment Beyond the Bag. Welcome to the David Daily Show. We're finishing up with our anchor segment, Beyond the Bag. I'm here with my good friend, Deondré, who has joined us. And if you know anything about me, you know that I'm traveling regularly. I have a travel bag here. This one today is my Tumi. It's a Tumi commuter bag. I love Tumi because they have unlimited warranties on their products. And actually, they've got a lot of pockets too. A little pocket right here for the front. On the inside, you've got these little like utility pockets. I've got my journal here. They've got a laptop sleeve and then two side pockets, which I like to put water in and drinkables. And so I'll actually be traveling a lot this year, both for business and for personal, primarily to continue my trip around the world to finish out Central and South America, as well as traveling to all 50 states, having completed that last year. And this is a short little promo to the book called All 50, currently finishing up that book now. And during this segment, I like to share one thing I bring with me, and I have some blue light glasses here. So blue light glasses are to help filter the light coming from the screen. So if you don't have blue light glasses, go ahead and get yourself a pair of blue light glasses. Stay healthy with your vision, with the way that you show up looking at screens, especially if you're in technology. Go ahead and take these with you. They don't always look the best. Sometimes there's a reflection, but it does protect that blue light coming in from your eyes. Now, I'm curious, Deondré, you had a little bit of time to think. What is in your bag? What is one thing that you carry with you when you're traveling around the world or even to a coffee shop near you?
That's a really good question. So one of the things is I always carry a pen in my bag. I always carry my two wallets. I like to carry two separate wallets, right? One with like identification on it, and the other one for like just credit cards or bank cards and stuff. The next thing is I usually carry eye drops. Unfortunately, there was a recall a while ago, so I had to go to the eye doctor and ask them which eye drops I should be looking at. And I always like to carry with me a watch. Now, if I'm not wearing a watch on me, then it's definitely somewhere with me. So definitely always have a watch. Um, and yeah, I those are the things, or my
Nice.
AirPod cases in case I get a call. So absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. We got 4 items today on Beyond the Bag. I love it. And I actually have those as well. I have my 2 watches, my Casio, and my Apple Watch, which just happened to be on both my wrists today. He's a techie. He loves watching me wearing 2 watches. I do have Visine as well. This is, I don't know if this one recalled?
I think it was a variation of that.
Okay, good. Not this one. Great. I don't have to take that one back. And then I
Yeah,
also carry my AirPods as well. I just got a fresh Gen 2 AirPod Pro.
yeah.
So not Gen 3, but Gen 2. By the way, shout out if you have not downloaded the new Apple Tahoe, which is version 26.2. I remember that because 26.2 is the number of miles in a marathon. So if you've not downloaded the latest and greatest Mac version Tahoe, you can get it both on your phone and on your MacBook. Would encourage you to do that. But I'm here with Deondré. Get your AirPods, get your watches, take your Visine with you. And of course, if you don't have a pen or something to write with, also have a pen. Well, Deondré, it has been such a pleasure to have you on the show. What is the best way for people to get connected with you and build relationship with you?
Definitely LinkedIn. So my LinkedIn is going to be exactly as displayed with my name. And you connect with me, I will connect back with you. Yeah, so that's definitely there.
Awesome. So LinkedIn is a great platform. And what is your key focus now in terms of how you want people to stay in contact with you, and what's your focus? What's your ask for the audience for people who might be watching this later?
Think of your future and the place that you want to be. And also, how are you doing that in your life currently? Um, if you're not at a place where you're happy, if you're not at a place where you're able to pivot really quickly into whatever is coming next, then it's okay to work on yourself. It's okay to
Mhm.
change into a different form or add on more information to yourself that you need to be able to be ready for the next sectors of life. So be informed, be encouraged, and yeah, that's what I say.
Awesome. I absolutely love it. One aspect that we didn't talk too much about was nonprofits and service. Of course, you're very involved with Golden Harvest Food Bank as well as Black Executive Men. Could you tell us briefly about Black Executive Men, why that's important to you, and maybe go into a little bit of detail about the food bank as well?
Okay. Black Executive Man is a private organization for Black executive men. In no way, shape, form am I a spokesperson, but I am a member. And I would say so far, I have been, um, I've loved my experience, and I'm able to be a part of something great, and it's definitely history in the making. Um, And so, if you're not following it, I definitely suggest you follow it on LinkedIn, and you'll see that there are some great individuals who are a part of the collective. And yeah, it's a private organization though, so the only way in is through membership. And yeah, it's a great journey. I'm proud to be a part of it, and it's expanding. So. But beyond that, though, Food Harvest Bank, I like
Nice.
to be amongst the people. I like to be able to give back, and so every so often I like to go to the soup kitchen and feed those in need. So that's something I've done for a while. I actually had to stop for a moment when I was traveling for some private sector things, but now I'm at a point this year where I'm able to start back and really get back into giving back and being a part of the community.
Yeah, I love that. Being part of the community is something I enjoy as well, especially when you're able to see a tangible impact. And I would encourage folks to check out a soup kitchen or a food bank near you, whether you've been homeless yourself or unhoused, or you've been down and out and don't have any food, or you just want to be able to volunteer and see what it's all like. I
Yeah,
have a brother-in-law of mine who works at a kids food bank where the food specifically focused for kids and kids who want to eat. But I love this. Golden Harvest Food Bank, we serve families experiencing food insecurity in 24 countries, or maybe that says counties, sorry, 24 counties across Georgia and South Carolina. Every meal matters in Augusta, Georgia. Absolutely love that. I'm a sucker for a good nonprofit. They always wrote
yeah,
me in, and I find a way to give of my talent, which include both my time and my resources and my network and the people that we love and care about. So yeah, I really appreciate that. It's been wonderful. Well, Deondré, I have to say, just closing out, this is an amazing episode of the David Daly Show. We had a chance to talk all things quantum, give you a little bit of a moment and a spotlight. I'm curious, what are your final words for people who are watching? We have 7 people here on LinkedIn. We have an audience over on TikTok and Instagram as well. We've got Michael, Eileen, Ziggy9, Scooty7095. We've got Butterfly and David Nelson. We also have Tunisia and Tu as well. So I'm curious, what is your kind of final remark for not only yourself, but for people watching the show as we close out the show?
Um, Continue to have faith yourself and in God, and ensure that you are doing something worthwhile. The most important thing beyond protecting and growing yourself is the cultivation of children. So ensuring that if you do have children, or if there is children that you know of, you're being a positive influence in some type of way. That's what I would say. Yeah, you definitely want to have a positive impact so that when your time comes or it's your final days, people will remember you for your greatness. Absolutely.
I love that. That's a perfect way to end this show. Be a positive impact on the future generations. Thank you, Deondré. It's a pleasure having you today on the David Daily. We had a wonderful show today with you. And I just want to say thank you for tuning in. We are going live regularly, both in audio and video format. We love when you have these drop-in guests where we're able to have a wonderful, wonderful show. So we'll see you on the next David Daily show coming near you, talking about faith, funding, and future tech.